Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning. I got like kid stuff behind me. I didn't even think about taking stuff off my dining room table this morning. The table that's behind me. So I decided that I would do a little bleep this morning. Good morning, Trey. I decided that I would do a little bleep this morning on sex and manifestation. And a lot of the conscious coffees that I've been doing are really focused in on our consciousness. I'm not talking about sexy things. I'm not bringing out my sex coaching in the conscious coffee. And I think it's high time that we kind of blend the two a little bit together, because ultimately everything is interwoven, and that is exactly what we need to do. Not to mention, I'm going to be doing this really cool thing in April. In April, I'm going to be down, and so I don't practice Wicca or anything like that. I just want to say that off the top here. So it's not that I'm practicing witchcraft, but manifestation and creation. And here's the thing that you have to realize about it. And this computer's going off. When we talk about creation and abundance, we're really kind of, some people refer to that as witchy-woo witchcraft, right? Because we're talking about creation, we're talking about actually being that co-creator and being the alchemist of our life, being the co-creator of our life, really tapping in and making stuff happen. I refer to it as calling down blessings. I prefer to use prayer form to connect to the divine than, other formats out there. Everybody is doing similar things and practicing different ways of getting to their desired results, such as trying to create abundance. How do we really truly become that co-creator? So in April, I'm privileged to speak at Beltane down by San Antonio, and what I'm going to be giving 2 talks on is all on how to use your orgasm to manifest your dreams. Okay, so in the world that we're talking about there, it would be considered sex magic. Okay, so here's the thing: sex magic is all around us. God has blessed us with a world that is very magical. There are so many magical things. We get wrapped up in the term of magic a lot, and then we get wrapped up into these different beliefs and these different fears around magic. I am not talking about casting of spells. I'm not talking about, going in and even setting up multiple altars and shrines and circles and using a whole bunch of different stones and crystals and incense and all these different things. Sex magic, you don't even have to. You can take it to that extreme, and if you want to, go for it. If that's what your faith is, fine. I'm in full support of, as long as you are being safe, not harming anybody, and working in a positive love space, then go for it. But when I'm referring to sex magic, what we're talking about, and that using sex as creation energy, as that ability to really bring it in, I simplify it down. You could say that I clarify it, kind of like butter gets clarified, and I make things very simplified. So I'm going to give you just a couple little pieces of it. Pull in some biblical aspects today, pull in a little bit of tantric aspect, and for the Wicca community out there, well, there's a little bit of that stuff in here too. So this is going to be kind of a blend. I just wanted to clear up that, because I don't want to freak anybody out when you start hearing me talk about pulling this stuff together, because it is referred to as sex magic, but it's not, we're not casting spells, okay? I would refer to it more like, hey, good morning, Delta, good morning, Jason. I would refer to it more on the lines of thinking like you're setting an intention, using a positive affirmation and calling that down. Because with any kind of creation work, no matter what the faith behind it is, it's all internal work. And just like in all my conscious coffees, it comes down to your intent, to your consciousness, to your desire, to your belief, okay? Those are the principles. That's the foundation. It does not matter what else is going on. So, and next little thing here that you need to realize is when we're talking about sexual energy and using that for manifestation purposes, you don't have to have a partner. This is stuff that you can do solo or you can do with a partner. If you're into orgies, well, fine, you can go do it with an orgy too. You can do it with one partner, 5 partners, no partners, does not matter. This kind of stuff is just about your energy, you setting the intent and pulling it down, okay? So I love Abraham Hicks' term of rockets of desire, and that's all you're doing. You're basically sending out rockets of desire for what your intent is, what your desires are, except you're sending them out supercharged because you're making use of that sexual energy. And I'm going to kind of give, literally, I'm giving you like little bites here of lots of different stuff to just kind of nibble on. Hopefully this will spur some questions. Feel free to ask. You know, I've got lots of stuff on my blog too, on my Naked Musings on my website that kind of refer back to this. If you go back into, I have to go back years, but if you go back into like all my Road Less Traveled posts, my work that I did with my teacher, there's one post that I think it's called something alchemy, and I'm talking about being our own alchemist and our own creator, and how we there's some sex magic tips in there. So the next little thing that I want you to look at here is that interwovenness. So we use our sex, but we don't use our sex. And I'm going to flip to Christianity here real quick. One of my favorite authors, John Eldredge, because to me he is just one of the most passionate Christian writers out there. He speaks the truth. He really does. Like I feel the truth coming through this man. Like it's really powerful. I adore him. But there's this one quote in his book called Desire: The Journey We Must Take to Find the Life God Offers. Fantastic book. I don't care what your faith is, what your religion is. It's a book that I suggest you read. Absolutely phenomenal. And this is the quote: "We have grown cynical as a society about whether intimacy is really possible. To the degree that we have abandoned soul oneness, we have sought out merely sex, physical sex, to ease the pain, but the full union is no longer there. The orgasm comes incomplete. Its heart has been taken away. God's design was that the two shall become one flesh." And here's the thing, what this whole chapter is on, and what this whole little section is on, is the consummation of the affair. And he's talking about the affair, the love affair that we have with God the divine, and how our sexing, our relationships in this physical world is a physical experience, reflection of the relationship that we're supposed to have with God, and that through us these things are just beautifully created. Well, if you look at sex magic, that is exactly what is taking place there, is that you are tapping into that relationship with God, and you're calling down your blessings. You're casting out those rockets of desire, as Hicks would call it, and you're putting them out there in this high frequency, highly charged situation. Because in this moment of our sexing, ideally, this does not happen very often in our lives, but in this moment, what we are supposed to be doing is that we're supposed to be fully surrendering to each other, or to ourselves if it's self-pleasuring. We're fully surrendering. But in that moment of surrender to self or to our partner, we also need to surrender at this deep level all the way to God. And that means that we are completely open. That means that we're not thinking about all these different things. We're not trying to control the situation. We are being taken. and the role of the masculine and the feminine. And when I say masculine and feminine, I do speak in terms of man and woman, just because that's me. Okay, so I get in trouble all the time. People yell at me like, "Oh, you're outcasting this." I'm not outcasting anybody. I don't care what you're doing in your bedroom, as long as you're happy. That's all that matters. Um, but when I talk about masculine and feminine is that the one, we have to have polarities in our relationships. There has to be a polarity in our sexing. So if it's two women coming together, one is going to operate more in the masculine than the other, and one's going to be strong in the feminine than the other. If it's two men coming together, the same story there. If it's a man and a woman coming together, ideally what needs to be happening there for it to be charged is that the female is in her feminine and the male is in his masculine energy. Those are two different energy frequencies that has absolutely nothing to do with what genitals you're sporting, okay? It does not matter about that. So when I refer to masculine and feminine, I'm just talking about the energy behind it. I want you to be very, very clear about that. So the masculine and feminine is that the feminine really has the feminine. I don't know what is going on with my other computer over there. The feminine just really opens up. The feminine through, and I'm going to refer to feminine as her, okay, and the masculine as him, just for easiness. So the feminine as her, she opens and she fully surrenders, okay? She opens and she fully surrenders. And in her surrender, she takes the masculine even further, even deeper. She pulls him up. She pulls him closer to God, because the feminine energy is that energy that literally in the surrender takes everything higher. Without the feminine, it's almost impossible to do the big toe touch of God that I refer to, or that David Dieter refers to. I've stolen it enough from him. It's mine now. But to touch the big toe of God. And the masculine is that driving force, the force, that leadership force, the guiding force. So the penetration happens at this level that he is literally, oh, by the way, I'm going to say the F word, literally fucking her wide open, okay? That big scary surrender word that so many people avoid in sexing. Yes. So the masculine has to open the feminine up. That means that he has to be extremely clear, on purpose, present. If he is caught up on only the physical, my girlfriend the other day, she referred to it just yesterday. I was talking to a girlfriend and she said that, I think it's a stab and go or something like that, because we were talking about no foreplay, no oral, like no oral sex, no cuddling, none of this. And I was like, that just doesn't work for me. That's not okay. Like, if you want to open the feminine up, and if you want the feminine to have this beautiful orgasm, and to really be able to connect and to use this energy to connect and draw down blessings, then you can't do the stab and go, okay? And that's what we were talking about. Like, we live in this world where it's really more of a warrior nature for the majority of men in the sexing. And warrior nature, when I say that, if you look at all of time, men would come in and they would, rape and pillage the villages, and they would overtake the women, and there was multiple things going on. They were spreading their seed to change the actual bloodlines. They were also, when you rape a woman, and when you do it like that, you well, we all know what rape does to women. It really fucks us women up in a lot of different ways, physically, mentally, emotionally. Rape causes a whole bunch of different blockages. It starts to shut us down. It changes us in so many different ways that are not good. Well, what has been understood for thousands of years is that if you go in and if you take away this connection that the women have to the divine and to themselves, you strip them of their power through such things as rape, then you actually destroy the masculine, because the masculine will become weak because they no longer have the strong female. I encourage anybody, if you want a great book that kind of talks about the history of what goes on with female sexuality and the importance of the empowerment of female sexuality, is a book called Vagina, a Biography by Naomi Wolf, and she hits all the historical aspects of sexing for women and what has happened through all of time, and how these different things that happen to women, that how it really shuts down our sex, and what it has caused is exactly what John Eldredge, which I was going to take a sip of coffee. My brain is going 1,000 miles an hour this morning for some reason. What John Eldredge is talking about, that we have completely, I can't see his words here, that we have completely grown cynical because we've lost intimacy, and our sex is, is sought out merely as sex, physical sex, to ease the pain. And when he says that, I just, it's like, why do we have sex in today's world? We have sex to, we're still experiencing the conquering experience. There's lots of energies out there that are just putting notches on their bedposts. But then there is also this, I need to have sex to release stress. We're using it for stress release, not for connection, not for manifestation, not for getting closer to God. And if you want to have beautiful sexual magic happen, then you have to get really right with God, because that's what sex magic is about. Sex magic at its core is about basically going to God and asking God to fuck you wide open and give and open up your blessings. So to really, tap in to that divine source. Oh, hold on, I see Delta commented. This is amazing to find this out, that the feminine energy pulls the masculine up. Is from a relationship, or from actual making sex, or just, all right, hold on, pulls the masculine up. Is it from a relationship, or from actually having sex, or just being with that person? Yeah, hold on, I'll get right to that. But you have to open up. You have to be willing to have that relationship with God, okay, and really just be opened up to that. That is number one thing that you've got to be willing to do. So there has to be some. You can't walk into sex magic and not believe in God. I guess that would be the first thing. You can't walk in as a complete non-believer. You need to have some sort of spiritual backing, some sort of concept that there is something bigger, greater than us, some sort of consciousness, okay? Some sort of divine thing out there. And that we are, the next thing is that we are a piece of that. You have to really believe that you're a child of God, a seed of God, some whatever term you want to use there, like you have the light of God inside of you, because it is that connection, okay? All right, so Delta, as far as the feminine masculine goes in like the relationship and having, so I'll tell you, on the front side, just to be around, I have what I refer to as safe masculines in my life, men that I feel my boundaries are safe with. I know that I have like men that I don't have sex with, right? But I use them and they use me for just that connection purpose, to kind of get that, feed off of each other's strong energy in the polarity, in the part of the polarity that we're in. So they're getting lots of feminine energy from me, which allows them to soften, allows them to feel, because men in general have a lot tougher time understanding feelings, or being able to tap in and really truly feel themselves. So there is that stage one of just being around the opposite sex, if that opposite sex is in their energy, okay? Because we have lots of women out there that are actually men in women's bodies. So that's the female operating in masculine energy. You can be around lots of women. If you're a man and you're around a woman that is a masculine energy, you might as well go hang out with your guy buddies, because it's the same thing, okay? She might be better to look at, but that's about it. She's going to be the same thing. And the same thing for us women. If you're around, and around men that are more feminine natured, then it's like being around your girlfriends, not like really pulling from that masculine, which is that supportive. Because for us women, you guys create this container of strength, your direction, your leadership, the power. It allows us as women, when we're in our feminine, to just open up. And because we have to maintain that container for ourselves day in and day out. So when this masculine comes in and provides a strong container of masculine energy, just in relationship even, then it allows us to soften and open up to all of our beauty, to all of our divine power, to, that's where the woman can laugh, she's freer, she becomes more sensual. All this different stuff happens because the masculine will pull it out of her, because there is this space for her to breathe, you could say. And for the masculine, he can actually tap in and feel, and he's basically watching the feminine dance before him, and that right there brings him up. Okay, so that's basic relationships. Like, I'm going out on a date, you could say, with a safe masculine in just a few hours, and that's our relationship, is that we literally use each other for that right there. There's no sexing going on. I take that to the next level, and if you really want to get into pulling down the blessings, the sex magic aspect of it, if it is just with self, thank you. Yes, there's an article for you, the ecstatic alchemy. Thank you, Addison. If you want to get into the actual sex magic aspect itself, then that really moves into like either self-pleasuring and operating. Now you have to remember that when you're self-pleasuring, whether you're a man or a woman, you are operating in both the masculine and the feminine. So you're never going to be able to open up 100% in your desired energy. So a woman who is masturbating, there's still a piece of us, we're never going to be 100% in our feminine, so we're never going to be able to fully open up in self-pleasuring like we would with a partner, because we're operating with, we have to be in the feminine and the masculine. Same thing goes for the masculine. If he is, most men, when they're self-pleasuring, are self-pleasuring in the masculine. There's no feminine going on, but they're doing the stab and go, basically. It's quick, right? It's just boom, 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 and you come, and then you're good to go, and you go on. In sex magic, it's not about the speed, it's not about the ejaculation. It is about the pull of energy and the connection, which means that consciousness is at play, and it's all about your sexual consciousness with self in those moments. Take that to sexing with a partner. That means that you have to actually slow the fuck down and sex with your partner in consciousness. Realize that there needs to be active foreplay, all these different things going on, that it's all about connection and pushing each other up to closer and closer and closer to the divine. Okay, in sexing, yes, that's where you tap into the true magic of everything, and that's where you start to open up those circuits, those channels of creation work. But the little thing here is that it's not just about the physical act of, it's not PV sex, right? It's not about just the penetration, physical penetration. It's about the mental, emotional, spiritual penetration that's taking place, that elevates everything to that next level, which is why you have to set the tone, set the stage for everything. That's where different beliefs out there will get into what we refer to as, magic or ritual or different stuff like that. So they'll set up, like circles and crystals and all that. It's because they're setting up a physical representation of the consciousness that's going in. I'm just telling you, you don't have to do all that. You want to do all that, that's absolutely fine. Go for it. If that helps you set the stage and it helps you keep you consciously right there, awesome, go for it. Is there extra vibe in crystals? Yes, I do believe that there's extra vibe in crystals. I just had Max, the Ancient Crystal Skull here. I do believe that different things on our planets help increase, help focus energy. That's not what this topic's about. That's not what I teach on. I'm teaching the principles and the basics so that anybody can access this stuff, okay? And it doesn't have to be that difficult. It's very, very simple. It does take a lot of focus. It does take a lot of practice. It takes a desire and it takes belief. And with that, you have to realize that sex magic is an internal game first. It is an internal game first. And when I say that, it comes down to, again, your desires, your beliefs, and you doing your internal work and really wanting to connect. And I'm assuming, take it just on the scope of like you're with your partner, that you really want to be with your partner and you really want to bless yourself and your partner with this elevated, extended, more open sexing, that it's not just about the stress release. So if you're caught in just the stress release, then you're not going to experience anything that I'm talking about here. Sex magic is not on the table for you. Sexual alchemy is not on the table for you. Using your sexual energy to pull down blessings is not on the table for you. You cannot transmute sexual energy if you're just in it for the quick release. As a partner of mine calls it the pump ooh. No, if you're into the pump ooh, well, you're not gonna receive the benefits of this kind of sexing at all. And so really looking at what that consciousness is, which means slow down and really get in there and want to become one with your partner. And the idea there is to really truly understand that your partner and yourself are mirroring the relationship that you have with the divine, which is why you have to have the relationship with the divine first, with God first. You have to have that relationship there first, here second, partner third. That's the order. So if you're not in relationship and if you're not in this affair, intimacy, love affair with God, then start there, because anything here is not going to happen. You're not going to fully get it. You're not going to be able to really access those points of orgasmic bliss, of true surrender, until you can surrender to the ultimate source, God the Creator, right? On that note, like I said, it's just kind of like a little teaser. I'm not giving a whole bunch of stuff. I'm just trying to get you to realize some of the things that are accessible. What I would suggest, though, you can look up on Google. You can go Chapter 11, Think and Grow Rich. Napoleon Hill, back in 1936, I think it was, wrote a book called Think and Grow Rich. And Chapter 11 is all on sex magic. So it's very, very, it kind of explains how all great people in the world and all great leaders, visionaries of our time had a very strong, high sexual energy. They were all, you could say, sex addicts even, like they were having lots of sex or they were masturbating a lot. And what they understood was that to pull this energy up and to transmute it into something more. So it was like they were bringing themselves up, which is what sex magic is that the orgasm's not just happening in your genitals. The orgasm comes up through your body. It moves into your partner and their orgasm too, and it meets at this higher level and connects to God, and then comes back down with that casting of blessing up, and then it trickles down back into you, and there you have it. That's those rockets of desire with supercharged. But in his whole chapter 11, it's one of the most powerful chapters in the book, and it is also the chapter that everybody skips over because it's titled, it has sex in it. So go check that out. Lots of pieces there. And then if the next little piece would be, go read Song of Solomon's in the Bible, because Solomon and his bride, there is so much, that interaction, that union that you read about in Solomon's songs is the union that you need to have as your goal in your lifetime with a partner, with self, and realize that that is the reason why Solomon was writing about that, was because of how his bride was pulling him up to God. And the reason why this chapter's in the Bible, in my opinion, and according to other scholars out there and stuff, is that all the Bible is full of war and different doctrines and things that we need to do, should do, blah, 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 right? And it's a lot of just this kind of stuff. But this piece is so important, that in our human form, in our physical form, we're scared to access it. We're scared of its beauty. We're scared of its power. And even in the Bible, the authors wanted you to know your sex is important. Your sex is important. Your sex is creative energy. Your sex is the union not only with your partner, but with God. And this is where the magic happens. This is where the magic happens. So really, really tapping into that and exploring it. So that's what I recommend you do, is read Solomon's songs in the Bible. Lots of law of attraction stuff in Proverbs too. You want to learn more about the law of attraction, read Proverbs. Proverbs is the law of attraction. It's like it's full of it. It's just boom, 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 boom. So from a biblical perspective, there you have it on those teachings. It's really all there. You just have to read it with a different mindset than the closed religious mindset that we have been taught for the last hundreds of years, 2,000 years plus. But really over the last few hundred years, it has really just been, like blocked up and shut down so that you don't see it. But I can tell you for a fact that the law of attraction and even the power of our sex is right in the Holy Bible, right? So if you're a Christian watching this, and you know that I do preach a lot of Christ-centered stuff on here and in my writings and everything, it's there. It's there, okay? So don't be scared away by the whole magic term. If you're not Christian, if you're practicing Tantra, then you can move into the aspect of he's calling it sex magic. And you can do a whole bunch of, you can get into all the different rituals and stuff that's out there. If you're practicing Wicca, you can get into the rituals and all that good stuff. But the simplified version of it is really truly sit down with your partner or with self if you're self-pleasuring, and do a meditation, do eye gazing, bring yourself into your body. This is a body practice. It is a body connection, and you are making love to God. You have to get into the idea that you are making love to God in your sexing, and that you are being made love to by God. So this is like, you're getting fucked by God here, okay? Here's a funny little thing, but you can see how I raised my kids. Very, very open and different concepts. But my 15-year-old daughter, yesterday, she calls me while I was driving to a dinner engagement, and she calls me and she's like, "Hey mom," and she's out there and she's like, "Did you see the sunset tonight?" And I'm like, "No." And she's like, "Oh my gosh, it was so beautiful. I told my friend that I would fuck the sunset." And I'm like, she's like, "Have you ever had a moment like that you've just stood out underneath the sky and you're just looking at the sky and you're like, oh my gosh, yes, I would fuck the sky." I'm telling her now. And she just walked down the stairs. But that energy right there, and that, I mean, I think it's beautiful that at 15 that she had this experience of feeling like, like the term fuck in this moment is not a sexual term, but it's about opening up fully to, being fully penetrated to, and also penetrating the energy of the earth, that connection. It's just this beautiful bliss state. And that she actually had a moment at 15 where she's out underneath the sky, looking at the sunset, getting that turned on to the sunset. And to share that, I was just like, that's beautiful, honey. Yes, I've experienced that. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's absolutely incredible. And it's actually bigger and grander than what the majority of people experience in they're sexing with their partners. So just really just really explore those things. Try to find that orgasm. And when I talk about orgasmic living, and I know I see Michael Smith on here, he understands this because I've been preaching to him for years about orgasmic living. And it's really just about exactly what my daughter was talking about there, that moment was an orgasmic moment for her. And that moment is accessible to all of us with or without partners. You have to start there. You have to open up at that level to orgasm and to that receiving and to be penetrated at that depth of soul, because that's what that was a soul penetration from the divine, and access that. If you can get there, if you can start to experience orgasm in other areas, then you can bring that back into your self-pleasuring, into the bedroom, and you can take your intent. I love you, baby. You can take your intent, write it down. You can have positive affirmations. You can, when you get right into that, like really, really high point of your sexing, like close to climax, what we refer to as orgasm, what the majority of people refer to as orgasm, was actually climax. So like before a man ejaculates or a woman hits that like whoo threshold and that energy, then you can pop off one of your affirmations, intentions in that moment, and just, it's like you cast out the picture, okay, and you open and you surrender to the orgasm. It's that difficult, okay? I know that probably doesn't sound too difficult, and it's not supposed to be. It's that difficult. That's all sex magic is. But the trick to sex magic, and why I'm so focused on it, is the affair that you're having with the divine, is that getting penetrated at that level, like my daughter experienced just yesterday with the sunset. It's like it's those moments that you have to really open up and do that, and then take that and put, once you access that with partner or with self and you feel that penetration, you cast out your thought, your intent, you put it out into the universe, you send out that rocket of desire, a visual. You are in this beautiful emotional state in this moment, because if you're not having emotion in your sex, then you're just physically having sex. It's just like, as I always say, like, I could probably get more pleasure from washing my dishes, quite literally, because if it's just this, then there's nothing going on. You have to have the emotional connection there, and then the blend of the emotional, and really be surrendered mentally and spiritually to this process and open up at that level. So you have to get to that right there, that surrender, cast out that vision of your desired goal, and open up and let go and let God fuck you. Okay, so there you have it. I'm gonna have to put that there's adult language on this because I got a little carried away. Orgasmic life, orgasmic wealth. One of the best lessons I've learned in coaching: step into the feminine in grace and appreciation. The universe will respond. Yes. So there you go. That's the gist of it. Go back through, take the little notes, realize that it's an insight game, just like anything. It's all the same. It's all the same. It does not matter what we're talking about. It really comes down to being all the same. It's a game of consciousness. It's a game of connection to divine and self, and then that alignment is how we connect to others, how we open up to others, how we relate. Everything is just a reflection of our relationship with God. So there you have it. There's Sex Magic 101 brought down to some very simplistic terms, and hopefully it gave you a little bit of ideas and the importance of masculine and feminine in that role. I really cannot hit over the head enough there. And your consciousness and your relationship with God. Go read Solomon's Songs. Go read Proverbs. Pick up the book Desire from John Eldridge. Beautiful, beautiful book. Absolutely a must read, in my opinion. And for those of you who want to understand the importance of what goes on for women themselves in sexting and in relationship, pick up the book Vagina, a biography by Naomi Wolf, because we don't, as a culture, we don't understand it, and as men out there, I can promise you that you don't understand it. And unfortunately, what that has done is that we have now taken that into this new level where even as women, we understand it, but we're blocking it. And so we block, and we have to be reminded, we have to remember the importance of opening up these different levels and healing ourselves sexually, because without that, we're all going to end up being a bunch of men on this planet, and then there's not going to be any relationship going on because everybody's going to end up being in the masculine energy. That won't really happen, but we certainly have a deficit of feminine energy going on in a lot of ways because we just don't honor it. So there you have it. I love you guys. As always, if you found this message interesting, helpful, or just maybe, I don't know, going to cause a good discussion or something, please share the Conscious Coffee. Hit the little share button. Just hit the little share button. Make me smile today, please, by hitting share. Thank you all for your beautiful comments. I will go back through and read through them and try to comment to some of them in just a little bit after I get done with my morning practices. And I will catch you guys. It's Friday, so I will catch you guys on Monday for Conscious Coffee again on Monday. So I'll see you around 6 a.m.-ish with who knows what on Monday. Have a fantastic Friday and an amazing weekend, everybody.